Welcome to the Business Spotlight Series. I'm Rick Plaskett, a certified business and leadership coach here in Columbus, Ohio. And today my guest is Sadiq Isu. He is the owner of Talentz. It's a fabulous recruiting company and works with a very unique staff. And I'm going to let him tell that story. The purpose of today is to get an understanding and talk with Sadiq about the business challenges that he faces, some of his best practices, and to share a peek into what it's really like to build and operate a business. If this is your first time on the channel, please be sure to like and subscribe so you get notifications of our new conversations as they are posted. Sadiq, welcome and thank you for being with us today.
Thank you, Rick. Really appreciate being in this meeting. Thank you.
And I too appreciate it. Listen, for our audience, would you please give us a brief overview of your background, how you got to be where you are today, and a little bit about the business, because I really thought it was very unique.
Thank you. So, my name is Sadiq Isu, and prior to now, I've worked in different organizations, but I worked as either in the business development or in strategic marketing, but most of my time was actually spent in the strategic marketing. I've worked in technology, worked in Nokia on the technology side. I've worked in healthcare, Cardinal Health. I've also worked in retail, Kroger. So, I've worked in different organizations, managing different diverse groups of people as well. So that's my background prior to now. Currently, I'm the founder and CEO of Talentz. Talentz is not just an outsourcing firm. So we do outsourcing, but more of like a placement organization where we bring in an employee, place that employee in the organization, but we just don't stop there. We help to continue and bolster that relationship throughout the lifespan of that employee, just ensuring that you're always getting the best from that employee.
Awesome, awesome. So again, to build up the background a little bit for our viewers, what's your current ownership structure? Are you the sole owner or are there outside investors as well?
So I wouldn't call them outside investors, but I'm not the only sole owner. So myself, my brother, my wife, a couple of people, family owned basically, but, we've actually grown very drastically and we've been approached by a lot of investors out there. But, I think our main focus is just still trying to focus on restoring excellence globally, one person at a time. But while we're doing that, we also don't want to stray out from the core responsibility of the organization.
So as the owner and the big cheese, if you will, how would you describe the breakdown of your average week? How much time, percentage-wise, do you spend on strategy, on planning, looking to the future, versus how much time do you actually focus on the nuts and the bolts of the business?
Thank you for that question. So, this is one thing that I've realized. I've realized that my time is too expensive to focus on the nut and the bolt. Now, even though every organization actually needs that system to be able to run very easily to stay, but I think we have amazing employees that we've actually put in those positions to actually help grease those nuts and bolts to make sure that they are spinning and spinning well. I spend majority of my time building the team and building the organization. For example, last year I traveled, I was on the plane 87 times last year. So if you look at that, there are weeks that I'm out 3 times in a week, twice in a week. And all of this is just building relationships. So I'm more of a strategic person. So I spend more time developing relationship and developing strategy. And then I leave the wheelings of the nuts and the bolts and those greasing to other members of the team to actually help develop that. Now, please note, even though I'm a strategic person, doesn't mean that we do not also sit on a strategic meeting. In fact, we actually have weekly strategic meeting with the leadership team to continue to talk about future strategy that we would like to adopt in the organization. For example, right now, we are actually 5 years ahead in our strategic plan. We always develop strategies 5 years ahead.
Well, that leads to the next thing, is looking at 5 years out in those strategies. What would be your focus on your approach to goals? Okay, obviously strategies have goals. You have a target you want to hit. I'm curious about your approach to goal setting.
Okay, so for us, I think if you look at if you look at our header, it said restoring excellence globally, right? That is actually a very, very big goal. But when we now decided to narrow it down to one person at a time, it made it easy for us to actually narrow down that focus. And so long as the entire organization is focused on that, it makes every other vision just fall into place, right? So the main vision is to restoring excellence globally, and that is our goal. Now, majority of our employees are out based in Africa, and they are assigned to work in different organizations across the world. Currently, we're in the US and we're in Canada, and we're getting into the European market sometimes in June, July. But where that takes us is this: it prepares every of our employees to focus on restoring excellence globally, one person at a time. And this starts with the leadership team, trickles down that effect down to the last person within the organization. Because of that, it makes the rest of the goal easy for us to actually continue to push and hopefully make it become achievable.
Okay. It's interesting, as I've done these interviews, I talk to many people, and the mindset of the goal and goal setting is sometimes curious to me. And I know I went through a personal challenge too, transitioning from the military into the commercial world. Um, Mission first, there was no substitute for victory. And so when someone asked me to set a goal, I said two, knowing I could do two. And yet it took my personal coach many months to get me to say no. Okay, goal setting is if you know how to get there, you know what to do, all of your people understand that. It's not a goal, it's a to do. Put it on your to do list and simply get it done. Put it on your calendar with a deadline, and it's done. But a goal should require you to grow a little, to stretch a little. And so her concept to me is if you think you can do two, how about naming six? If you get four, you haven't hit six, but it's a whole lot better than two. So I'm just curious I mean, restoring excellence globally is that big goal. I love it. That's a very inspirational vision. Chunk that down for me. When you're working with your people, what time frame do they have? A month, a quarter, a year to hit those milestones towards restoring excellence globally?
Okay, so when we start, it actually starts in a chunk, and it starts with the leadership team. And I'm going to break down the process to you. So first and first is before you are able to get interviewed in our organization, you would have to pass 3 tests. So behavioral test, IQ test, and personality test. As soon as you're done with those tests, we do like a video recording where you send over to the team for us to evaluate the candidates that is coming in. Then you come into an interview. The interview is very transparent. We have three team on the leadership side interviewing one employee, and we interview 5 employees, and eventually we're able to choose one out of the 5 employees. Then we bring that person into the organization. Now that person is trained for 3 months. It's called a bootcamp program. We train you for 3 months. What we're training you for is reorientation of the mind, cultural changes, difference between the African culture and then the American culture or whatever global culture it is, preparing you to be a global employee, a global candidate, not just an employee that is based in Nigeria. Preparing you, it's basically a lot of reorientation of the minds. And once we're done doing that, it takes us 3 months to prepare that employee and get that employee ready. Once we're done getting that employee ready, then we assign that employee to work in an organization. Now, while you're thinking that is a big stretch, we don't do it for one employee. We hire 50 people every quarter, and they go through that training process. And after that training process, then we get those 50 people, we get them reassigned to work with any organization. Now, to answer your question as regards to how long do we expect them to attain that goal, we expect that we have failed if we're not able to reorientate your mindset within that first 3 months of that training. And as soon as we know that we've been able to achieve that, then you're plugged into actionable KPIs that we can actually see your tailored numbers just to be sure that you're meeting the goal for the organization that you're going to be working with subsequently.
Man, that's fabulous. And I know that in our previous conversation as we were setting up for this, you gave me some pretty impressive growth that you've done by the numbers of employees just in the last 3 years. Would you share that with our audience?
Yes, absolutely. We started with 3 employees about 3 years ago, and we've been able to bring in almost 400 employees on board our organization in 3 years. And again, it's the intentionality. Majority of the clients that would work with would eventually refer another client to us. I mean, a lot of word of mouth in that sense. And if you look at that growth speed within that short period of time, you would get to see that it's not just the effort of the marketing team, of course, which we are very proud of, and the business development team, and the entire organization at large, but it's actually the intentionality about what we do, the dedication of that employee that is being assigned, and then the willingness of our clients to always want to refer us to a different client for us to work with.
Wow, fabulous. When you build a team like that, your leadership, I just can't imagine. Maybe it's a great, how would you describe your own leadership style? And has it changed over the years? I mean, leadership style for 3 people has got to be different than leadership style for 300. And if you're hiring 50 people every single quarter, it's going to be a whole lot bigger than 300 very, very soon.
That is correct. So like I said, we're more than 300. We're almost 400 in our team at the moment. But so when we started, I think I was more of an empathetic leader. I took a course in Harvard that is called Authentic Leader. That changed the orientation a little bit. It did not automatically move me from being an empathetic leader to an authentic leader, but it also helped create that authenticity in the leadership style. And once that happened, it was easy for the rest of the organization to actually see what that leadership idea is and to plug into that idea. Now, please note, in every organization, you will have multiple leadership style, but if everyone's goal is the same, then it's just help the leaders to focus on that vision of the organization, in which that's where we are. So we're very intentional about that vision, and so the rest of the team is focused on that. We are about 27 people on the leadership team at the moment. And now imagine 27 coming up with different strategies and different ideas. Now, some of them would not be empathetic. Some of them would not be authentic. Some of them would actually even have managerial style, so to say. But it's easy for them to now adjust, adapt, and make changes, which we definitely need standards in all areas, right? So it's not everybody that is going to be an empathetic leader, but it actually helps create that standard once they see that we all are heading towards the same vision.
Super. So, and I think you've brought up a point I wanted to dig in deeper and get your idea on this is so many times, so many books are written on leaders in business. Well, every business does need leaders, but they also need managers. There's not one over the other. There's not one that's better than the other. You need both. So in your organization, as you have grown, how many of those developing leaders on your team or developing managers on your team have the potential of really stepping up as you grow beyond your 400 people? And do you have a development program for them?
Yes, we actually do. So on a monthly basis, we actually bring in different leaders, different coaches, from different organizations to come and impact, our employees. Now, these might be people that I have personally worked with. It might be people that, my brother personally worked with. It might be people that, different people have worked with and they have seen amazing leadership style in the way they position themselves. It might be any of those. Every month, we bring one person in just to come and give us a different leadership style, just to recreate a different opinion. Now, in the context of there is always going to be a balance, we have the people that came into the organization with, they are more of, they came in with, the mighty sword as managers and, very controlling, very authoritative. But as soon as they came in, they saw the organization works in a different perspective. And that actually helps them adjust a lot. We also do pairing in terms of, as soon as you're coming into our organization, you go through a strength finding questionnaire that you always have to go through for us to identify the kind of strengths that you have. And once we have that, it gives us the opportunity to pair you with someone of similar weakness or of an opposite weakness, as the case may be, so the both of you can actually work together and help that create a balance. So that is also something that we also do on the side. So that helps us create that balance amongst not just the employee, but with the leadership team. And finally, we do not think that there is anyone that is not a leader in the organization. If you remember when I started, I didn't say the leadership team, I said the managerial team, right? So we have the managerial team, and we believe that every employee in the organization, from whoever cleans the building down to the top of the line manager, including myself, we all have that baton to become leaders. And so therefore we provide that training and that guidance from you entering the organization on how to position yourself to be a leader. So when we all agree to all lead together, then it's easy to just follow the vision of the organization through.
That's fabulous, Sadiq. I'm curious, what type of rhythm of communications do you have to support that type of leadership? In other words, communication out and feedback at the end of the day. Curious, you mentioned, what was it, monthly strategic meetings? Tell me a little bit about your, again, what type of meetings, communication do you use to ensure that all of these developing leaders are all rowing the boat in the same direction, if you will?
Yeah, so first thing first is amongst the management team, we actually have a 15-minute touch base meeting every morning at 8 a.m. Touch base. I know a lot of organizations are always saying that you shouldn't be meeting heavy because it doesn't help create a level of productivity. But as an organization that is still very young and growing at a very fast pace, what we talk about in that 15 minutes touch point is the pain point of our clients. That's it. We're not talking about a strategic growth or anything like that. What was the complaint that we received from the clients yesterday? Just that. We just want to focus on it, and we want to try to see how we can fix it. We're very client heavy. We're also very heavy on our employee side. Now, these meetings happens every morning, and it's just a 15 minutes quick touch point. Then we have our weekly meeting, the weekly leadership meeting. This meeting is where we now do a deep dive out of everything that had happened from the beginning of the week. Do we have any upset customer? We have any clients that is not happy with the service that we're providing? And what is the new goal? Today, if we have a total of 15 clients, how many clients do we want to get by the end of the week or by the end of next week and all the rest of it? We have those deep dive conversations. Then on a monthly basis is when we now have our leadership training, as well as monthly productivity meeting with all of our employees. So all of the employees, the same way you have town hall meetings in an organization, ours is monthly productivity meeting because it's very, very focused on either productivity or the employee well-being. And this is when employees are able to come out, talk to their, we could have like an health coach that would come talk about health, that would come talk about finances, that would come talk about, productivity, soft skills, all of these things. This is where they come in, have the opportunity to ask questions, gain additional knowledge, and all the rest of it. So that happens once a month. And then quarterly, we focus on ethical training where we teach people on how to be ethical. We know that ethical standard is deteriorating over time. So we want to remind people that, you have to always stay ethical in order for us to be able to restore excellence globally, as our vision had said. And then we get to meet once a year where we all meet in person. Majority of our employees are virtual employees. And so we get to meet in person. You get to see from the leadership team down to, anybody that it's on the lower spectrum of the organization, but we all get to meet in person. We do a team bonding meeting together where we spend some time together and get to know each other all over again. It just creates that opportunity to work in as one large family.
That is fabulous. You have hit on every single part that I have tried to communicate to many of my clients in that rhythm. In fact, the one piece that I didn't hear you say, but I'm betting you already have it is there any 360-degree feedback that all of those meetings sounded like they were leader initiated and information going from the top down? Do you have anything in your rhythm of meetings where the people communicate back to you?
Yes, so we have, the monthly productivity meeting again is an opportunity for employees to ask questions as regards to, maybe the organization, or we give feedback to them. But not just that, there is also the survey that also goes out. We just completed a survey, quarterly survey, the last quarterly survey that we completed. We only had 2 employees out of almost 400 employees give a feedback to say we have to improve in this area and in this area. And those are the only feedback that we receive. Now, this is an anonymous survey, so which allows the employee to express themselves as much as possible. But if we're getting 2, it means that we're really doing everything we can as an organization to ensure that we bring out the best in every of our employees as well. Did that answer your question?
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that's fabulous. Let's stay on people, but let's change it just a little bit. I think I heard you say you're very focused on expanding into Europe sometime this summer. So if there was one area of training that you and your people would like to include in your business client, what would that area of training be in the next 6 months?
That's a good question. So what we do is we do what is called more of like the trainer kind of principles, where we would have someone train our trainer, and we would have that trainer train any other person that is actually joining the organization. Again, the one new thing that we get to see is, because we have those meetings once a month where we have our leaders or our management team being trained by an external party. I think that's the one area. And these leaders are open to coming up with their own topic that they would like, that they are experts in, that they would like to come train the rest of us in. And I mean, it's an open-minded training. I'm in those trainings as well. My brother, the chairman, is in those trainings as well. I mean, lots of people are in those trainings, just to oversee, just to have that experience that is coming from a different lips, a different mouth. Now, there are times that, I also got involved in the training. When I finished taking my class from Harvard, I was also able to put a class together about authentic leadership and, pass that knowledge down to the employer, to the management team as well. I mean, and it's open to anybody within the organization to come show that they are experts in an area and are willing to actually push that knowledge into the rest of us.
Awesome, awesome. That sounds like a very, very comprehensive training and communication and focus, keeping people focused on what your goal and where you're leading your entire organization. Thank you for sharing that with me. Listen, we have absolutely covered a lot of ground today. And for those of you that are watching, I highly encourage you to save this, come back and listen a few times, because I know that I've caught and I've made copious notes here on a lot of great nuggets that Sadiq has shared with us. As we wrap this up, I have a section that's called Rapid Fire. But before I do that, I want to ask you if someone watching today would like to become your next customer or wants to talk to you about something that you have shared, Sadiq, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
So they can actually email us directly to our email. It could be info@alltalents.com. They could go to our website, www.alltalents.com, and they could request, to actually schedule a meeting or request for a talent. If they do that, then we're able to schedule a time to actually go through all the roles that we have open or that we have available that we would like to fill. I think those are typically the fastest way to reach out to our organization.
Super. Thank you for sharing that. So like I said, this next section is a rapid fire question section. Looking for just what's top of your mind, short answer. You ready to go? There's just a few questions here, but they're kind of fun. All right. Super. First question is, what would you say your key to success is?
A lot of people are staying away from hard work right now, but I don't think we've gotten there yet. I mean, we're just 3 years, so yes, hard work.
Okay. What's one piece of advice that you would give to another business owner that may want to grow as quickly as you are?
You can't do it all by yourself. You cannot do it all by yourself. If there is a role that you have to fill, hire someone smarter than you are to fill that role.
Super. And what's a book that you're either reading currently or you've read most recently that you find inspiring to you?
Profit First is one that I read most recently that actually teaches or really help us guide how to actually focus on profit.
Super, super, super. Are you familiar with Profit First as an organization? Have you participated with them at all?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Great. So if you had to choose one area of your business that you could immediately improve, and tomorrow morning you would wake up and it would be exactly what you wanted, what would that one area be?
It's always business development. I mean, we always come up with ideas over and over again on the business development side, but we still think we're not there yet. We always want to continue to improve in that area.
Super. Well, you've got to improve that area until that one client continues to grow, but they only represent a much smaller percentage of your total business. Yeah,
Absolutely.
super. All right, last question is, what's most inspiring to you?
I think the vision to see people grow. Nigeria is one of the countries where we actually outsource our employees from. There are over 220 million people in Nigeria with 43% unemployment rates. That alone, having to see what we're doing and hiring people and training them and assigning them, I think it's inspiring enough for us to want to continue to push and to break those grounds. It gives people the opportunity that would not be able to find opportunity to work. It gives them that position to be able to work, and they are always excited about it. So having to see the smile on people's faces after we've been able to assign them to work in an organization, I think that's inspiring enough.
Wow, that's got to be something that makes you smile every time there's the littlest of successes that you've done. I really appreciate you sharing that with us. Sadiq, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your journey. And to you, the audience, thank you for watching today. If you were inspired by listening to this, please go back and watch it a couple more times. Like I said, I have taken a whole boatload of notes here, and I know I'm going to be watching this several times to make sure that those notes are complete. So folks, make it a great day, and bye for now.
Thank you, Rick.